there, y'all. I'm Chris Garage. Welcome back. Today I am super excited because I just got my new Masterbuilt smoker. Full disclosure, if you get one, it won't come with the box messed up like that. That's where the shipping label was. I took that off of there. I did have another electric smoker before, and I am going to be getting a wood pellet smoker. That'll be later down the road, but I wanted to replace the electric one that I had because I loved it. But the one that I had, unfortunately, I left it out in a hurricane and it got damaged. So I did have to replace it with this one. And this is not a sponsored video. I paid for this out of my own pocket. I bought this for myself. I just love smoked food so much. I do also love jerky. I dehydrate a lot of meats and make some really good jerky and whatnot. Also, quick disclaimer. I eat carnivore, so that means I try to eat very little spices. I normally only put salt on my stuff. I like Redmond's real salt. I am going to be making 2 chuck roasts in this, and for mine, I'm just going to be putting salt on it. For my wife, I am going to put a little bit of a rub on there. So I just want to make sure everyone knows if you see one of them and it doesn't have a lot of seasoning on it, that's mine. But without further ado, let's get it open. Install is super easy. Only took me a couple of minutes. I did also stop in the middle of it to wipe everything out because sometimes you have leftover chemicals from production. And also it did not come with any type of a Phillips screwdriver to put it together, which is no big deal. I do like to use an electric screwdriver. The one that I was using was my Hodo screwdriver. The only issue I had during the install was putting in this thermometer. It was just a bear. I did actually have to grab a pipe wrench to get it to twist in place, and even then it wasn't sitting perfectly, so I was a little bummed about that. Alright, I got it all assembled. Whenever I buy a new cooking utensil such as this, I always like to fire it up at the highest heat it will go and let it run for like an hour just to make sure you burn off any of those extra chemicals that we were talking about. So I am going to go get it set up and have it do that. Something I do like about this smoker is it is a standalone unit. It does have its own legs, but I grabbed this folding table and just kind of popped it up there because I don't want to be hunching down when I'm using it. I am going to replace that folding table with a really nice area. That way I have like a cutting board and whatnot. But for now, this one is working. As you can see, it is a little bit stained or whatnot. And I did have a little bit of issues with the power, but we will talk about that in a bit. So I cranked the heat up, let it burn for the hour, and while that was burning, I grabbed the wood chips and started to get those ready. I did go with apple on this one. In the past, I've really liked using cherry, but someone recommended using this apple here. And all I'm doing, I'm putting it in the pan, and then I'm gonna add some water at the end and let it soak up the water. And what that does, it makes it so you can smoke your food and these chips don't actually catch on fire and let your heat run away from you. And now for the good part. While I was also waiting, I had to get the chuck roast ready. Again, on mine, I went with the Redmond's real salt. That's what I eat on almost all of my stuff. And these are about 3-pound chuck roasts. And the reason I chose those is because they do go on sale and you can get them really cheap. My wife, I went with the Rib Rack Spice Rub. This is her favorite. Something else I will tell you, if you want to use a little bit less rub, take your time and really push it into the meat. That'll help it hang on longer. Now that the smoker's up to temp, I drained the last of the water out of the chips. Again, you don't want to leave a ton of water in there, but I just loosely drained it out. Put those inside right on top of the burner. It does have 2 sections, one for the chips and one for the water, but I didn't use that right now. And then once it started making a little bit of smoke, I grabbed my chuck roast. I put hers on the bottom, mine on the top because I didn't want her seasoning dripping onto mine. I did check it at the 1-hour mark and at the 2-hour mark. This was the 1-hour mark. We're looking pretty good. Normally I wouldn't open it this much, but it being brand new, just wanted to make sure everything was working out pretty good. Again, this is the 2-hour mark. We are doing absolutely awesome. Smells so good, y'all. As I went along, I did keep turning it down a little bit because it was getting higher than the 225 like I wanted. At the 6-hour mark, I was considering it done. Everything I read online said to get it to about 165 to 170, so I grabbed an instant read thermometer, and these came out about 174, 175, something like that. Then it was time to bring them inside, cover them with some aluminum foil loosely. You don't want to go too tight because you don't want the aluminum foil to sweat. And then I let them sit for an hour, or rest for an hour rather. And now for the moment of truth. Oh my goodness, look at that. I grabbed my Woostoff, that's the chef knife there to cut into it. Man, it just looked and smelled so good. It wasn't quite as tender as I expected it to be, but it did come out really nice. It was pretty juicy. So it does look very nice and juicy to me. It smells so good. I will say this, if I was going to be doing barbecue with this, making barbecue sandwiches, that kind of stuff, I would have wanted to smoke it a little bit more because it isn't that like fall apart. Probably another hour or so, but it is tender. It's not hard by any stretch of the means, but it's not that like fall apart with a fork. Go ahead and try it. Man, that smells good. That is really good. Yeah, when I do the next one, I probably will smoke it another hour longer. Again, it is very tender, it's very juicy, but it's not that like fork tear apart. You can see it does have a nice, beautiful bark on it. Look how beautiful that bark is on there. Yeah, if you were big into barbecue, this is the part where you'd crack out with your Sweet Baby Rays or whatnot. So for my final thoughts on the smoker, I do want to reiterate this is a budget smoker. So there is a couple of cons to it. First of all, the temperature control isn't phenomenal. It works pretty good, but you do have to keep adjusting it. You can't just set it and forget it type thing. And I did have some issues with the power in the beginning, but let me explain the whole story. Where I have it set up, I had to run a long extension cord to an outlet. Well, I didn't have a very thick extension cord that was that long, so I had to use one that was a little bit thinner. And because I was using that thinner gauge extension cord, it wasn't allowing it to heat up all the way. It was barely getting to 225. So I got rid of that extension cord. I put a thicker gauge extension cord, and then I just ran it through a window to a different outlet, and then I didn't have any problems. So it's just something to think about. I do feel like the handle it feels a little flimsy. Now it may last. I'm not 100% sure, but it feels a little bit flimsy. And also I had issues with that thermometer in the beginning when I had to get the pipe wrench out. That kind of irked me a little bit. But that's the cons. Now I'm going to give you the pros because again, it is a budget smoker, so you have to take that into consideration. So it doesn't have the best heat control, but that is its simplicity. You've just got that little dial to worry about. You don't have to worry about an LED display that you're going to have issues with down the road. Also, that whole heating element section on the bottom, you can pop that out and then you can pressure wash this, which I think that's really neat. The other one that I had, you could not do that. It was kind of a bear to clean. It is lightweight. One person can easily move this thing around. Again, it has its own legs, so it can be a standalone unit. You don't need to put it on a table or anything like that. I just did it because I'm a taller guy. I don't want to be hunching down all the time. And the price. It was one of the most wallet-friendly smokers that I found that has the features and the quality of this unit. So I definitely would recommend this to someone that is new to smoking, someone that is learning smoking, or somebody that doesn't smoke all the time because it's not a huge investment like a pellet smoker is. And also, I am by no means an expert. I've only done minimal smoking. The other smoker I had for like 2 years, and I would use it maybe 3 or 4 times a month. So I am by no means a pro here, and I'm going to be doing tons of different product reviews, and we'll see you on the next one.